All right, Camden, I brought you the supplies that you asked for. I got a bowl and some eggs.
Egg bowl.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well,
okay.
That's what you asked for, an egg bowl, right?
I did.
Because you're going to make some omelets or something today?
I don't think I'm going to make any omelets, but maybe for the egg bowl.
See, I was confused about why you wanted. We were talking about omelets, but we don't eat turkey on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So I'll just take this back.
Yeah.
Eggs,
don't bring me any turkey.
Bowls. We got a big egg bowl coming up today. Less than an hour until kickoff. Ole Miss, Mississippi State. We know which one we're really talking about. It's been almost 100 years. This is the Egg Bowl special. Let's go. November 29th, 2024, the Egg Bowl in Oxford, Mississippi, home of the Ole Miss Rebels. Both Magnolia State SEC teams having won the trophy over the past 2 years. Not the best season for 2-9 Mississippi State, but also a lot to prove for the 14th ranked Rebels, who were right on the cusp of making the first ever expanded college football playoff. Ole Miss is passing to Jackson Dart in his final home game. The Bulldogs, after an early pick, had Michael Van Buren with redemption, getting it over to Kevin Coleman Jr. on the 4th down and scored 7-3, but after that, Ole Miss on the goal line gets a direct snap to our big man, J.J. Pegues. The defensive tackle powers in for a Rebel score.
And after not having a single carry the prior week in the crucial loss against Florida, Ole Miss hands it off to senior, and Bentley finds the hole and sees you later. Bring all that momentum back to Vaught Hemingway, 89 yards to the house. Touchdown Rebels again for the lead, 17-14, hotty toddy at halftime. And after the break, Ole Miss trying to take control. It's Jackson Dart going deep to his tight end, Caden Prieskorn, making the catch for a Rebels touchdown, taking the celebration to the fans. What a score for the senior. Ole Miss goes up 12.
Yeah, he's been making big plays and basically brought that right into your living room. The Bulldogs need to respond, though. Van Buren, who had come in for an injured Shapen after Blake Shapen was injured in the 4th game of the year, winds up going deep and then completes another big play. Kevin Coleman, you gotta watch this guy, his second score for State.
But MSU has 4 goal line plays pushed back by a penalty. They get to the 2-yard line, but do not score on 4th down.
And there you go. So they get there and are stopped on 4th down. So Ole Miss raises the Egg Bowl 26-14. It's rivalry week in college football, and if there's one thing we know, it's that history will be made today. There's something always that we talk about for years to come into the future for this game between Mississippi State and Ole Miss. We just don't know what it will be just yet, but we will by the end of the night. Welcome to the Egg Bowl Special. I'm Sports Director David Edelstein. This is Camden Morris, and as always, it's an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to speak with you about this week's top sports stories. And today, in the 121st all-time meeting between Ole Miss and Mississippi State and 98th Egg Bowl, battle for the golden egg. Do you have a Thanksgiving tradition like this?
I don't have one quite as good as that one. I can't say.
You don't have 65,000 fans or whatever showing up to your house?
No, nobody shows up to my house for Thanksgiving. We all go to my aunt, so much less cleanup that way.
For me, yeah, it always was going to aunt and uncle's house, seeing family, going to see them, and they have their own tradition of like holding hands and saying something you're grateful for. And for me, I always have to say, I love cranberry sauce. It's the only time of year I have it for whatever reason. I think you can buy it in the supermarket whenever you want.
I think so.
But that says Thanksgiving to me. Anyway, like we said, this has been a tradition for a long time in football. The trophy has been given out for 2 years shy of a century now and had been played every year since 1927, except for 1943. But the teams have played each other since 1901. I will say that Mississippi State and Ole Miss official websites don't agree on the exact record for the record keeping, but we will say the 2018 Bulldogs win was vacated. So take each record with a plus or minus 1 or 2 game grain of salt. But consensus is Ole Miss leads the all-time series and is 6-4 over the past 10. And Hotty Toddy has won the last 2. The last one, won by MSU, was Mike Leach's final game back in 2022. And this year, the game is at Mississippi State this morning, kickoff in under an hour. And one of the key points that Ole Miss has is that 60 new players who spent the week learning about the rivalry are now about to become part of it. And you know what they're about to experience for the first time because you've been to Mississippi State a lot this year.
I mean, a lot of excitement from the fans.
And what do the fans have?
The cowbells.
The cowbells.
I can tell you what doesn't excite me is just constantly hearing those cowbells. I've heard that they're very annoying. But I'm just excited to play, at an environment like Mississippi State. It's a rivalry game. like I just said, like I kind of like being on the road, and everyone kind of hates you and you're the villain. So I'm excited about that, and just playing such a historic game like the Egg Bowl is definitely like a dream of anyone, probably a little kid in Mississippi. So I'm excited to play in that game.
Chambliss is the story of the year. Won a D2 national title at Ferris State last year. Ole Miss is 10-1 this season, looking for its first ever regular season with 11 wins, and on the cusp of hosting a college football playoff game for the first time and trying to win a national title at the D1 level with Chambliss. Meanwhile, Mississippi State is 5-6 overall and just 1-6 in the conference. A different story, Camden.
The Bulldogs have appeared to take a step forward this year under head coach Jeff Lebby. They've been in games but unable to get wins, which is really all that matters. After its last game, MSU said it needs to find a way to play a full 4 quarters to have a chance against good teams.
The first drive of the game, we have the sack on 3rd down, which, again, frustrating for that to be the very first 3rd down of the game. The way we started on that drive, again, I thought we bounced back in a decent way, but really frustrating how we started the game offensively in that drive. And then, again, defensively, man, we talked non-stop all week, stressed it non-stop all week. Really frustrating that we don't defend the run any better, don't tackle the way we need to, and it's frustrating to go out there and play the way that we played, and had some really good moments, and man, we're not able to sustain.
It's inconsistent. That's what you're saying? Yeah, it's inconsistent. We're not sustaining. We're not playing complimentary football as a team. It's just inconsistent. We're up and down, and we can't sustain.
And Mississippi State will need to find some stamina to keep up with Ole Miss.
Yeah, it's a pretty intense game that will take everything out of everyone, especially with the extra Thanksgiving dinner the night before. You don't want to put on too much calories, but they'll try and burn them off easily within the first quarter, I bet. Mississippi State took ranked Tennessee and Texas teams to overtime this year, so they can do that, but they also fell. They didn't finish the job. And against Florida, special teams mistakes and an interception on the final drive cost them by 2 points. So now it's time to just throw that all away when it comes to the Egg Bowl, because both teams just play for the love of the game and for the hate of their rivals. Just, you never know what's going to happen. But we also have to talk about Lane Kiffin, who's been part of that extracurricular noise and an intangible that might play a factor, because he's really created kind of a mess of a situation over the past month.
Yeah, it's been an interesting past month with Coach Lane Kiffin. I mean, a lot of fans are on speculation. He's all over the media, and maybe that's exactly what he wants, trying to get the hype up.
He always knows how to use social media, but he said he was kind of done with that because the team was going to speak for itself. But now we're not even talking about the team because we're talking about him. Here's a statement from Ole Miss Athletics Director Keith Carter. He asked for the community to focus on the Egg Bowl and the success of the athletes. The big news is that, quote, an announcement on Coach Kiffin's future is expected the Saturday following the game. You see it right there at the bottom. But that's the issue, isn't it? Fans say that the coach who keeps saying he doesn't want to talk about his future plans during the season so as not to be a distraction or, quote, disrespectful to the players, unquote, is actually taking up all the on-air time and all the air in the room because no one can focus on or talk about the actual team that's having the most success it's ever had, and some student athletes who are having the most success that they've ever had.
No, I mean, I think you took the words out of my mouth. I absolutely agree. I think we really want to focus on these athletes, but everyone has so much anticipation waiting to see what Coach Kiffin decides to do. More
news, of course, all week this week, and that's what we're talking about. We'll talk about more of the game, too, but Coach Kiffin going to make an announcement tomorrow, or is what happened in 2022 when Auburn was seeking him the first question in post-game since the season was over. Once that game ended, he was able to say, yep, now that it's done, I'll tell you I'm staying. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep you posted and talk more about this game specifically and how Kiffin himself actually might impact the Rebels' playoff chances. Not even the team playing the game, just him, later in the broadcast. When we come back, though, Camden's going to show us how each team got to this moment in a season in review. Stay tuned.
The Ole Miss Rebels have had quite an impressive year, only losing one game all season to Georgia. And it's their fourth 10-win season in 5 years. With Lane Kiffin leading the Rebels, the expectation offered has continued to go up. And that expectation is, of course, winning. It really is more than winning. It's creating a legacy of success, and Kiffin has continued to do that. This season specifically, the Rebels started off strong in their first SEC win of the season at Kentucky, with Austin Simmons leading the way at starting quarterback. But every season, athletes get injured and things can change in college football. This was no different for the Rebels, as Trinidad Chambliss, a Division II transfer, stepped up to the plate for Ole Miss when they faced Arkansas, but continued to come out on top.
It was a great atmosphere. Love seeing all the fans. The stripe out was amazing. Seeing the blue and red. Yeah, it's a little bit different than Ferris State, but you know, football is football. You know, there's 11 guys out there on offense, 11 guys on defense, and you just got to play ball. It's a dream come true. You know, you dream of moments like this. You know, coming from a D2, I'm very grateful and appreciative, you know, for, you know, the opportunity that arose today. And, yeah, I'm just going to, you know, soak it all in, you know, interact with all the fans because, you know, that was me, you know, when I was little. So, yeah.
An SEC team, and they lose their quarterback, and they're a completely different team without him. And then when they get him back, they totally change. So, you know, just set an off season, like just like any room, D-line, DBs, like, hey, let's improve the room overall, and spend a lot of time and energy recruiting Trinidad, you know, for situations like this.
And we have to talk about what it's like to call, I like to call, the Kiffin era. He's on his 6th season with the Rebels. Coach Kiffin led the Rebels to a 10-3 and a dominant 52-20 Gator Bowl victory over Duke in 2024, marking the first consecutive 10-win campaigns at Ole Miss since 1959. He produced first-round draft pick Jackson Dart, and there's just so much more he has continued to do for Ole Miss. And for Mississippi State Bulldogs, their season has not been an easy one. They had not won an SEC game since 2023, but they finally changed that narrative by beating Arkansas this year. With many close calls, such as going into overtime against the Tennessee Volunteers in Texas, Bulldog fans saw potential in this team, but following through on 4 quarters seemed to be a challenge for Mississippi State.
And not letting a result dictate how we interact, how we coach, what the expectation is, understanding that we have the ability to control how we prepare and how we play. And so for us, the consistency inside our walls, I stress and strain that with our entire staff, everybody that's inside this building every day. Young people need to know what they're getting before they walk in the double doors. I think that's one of the most important things about leadership. We're fighting like heck to do that every day.
It's the goal for sure. We want to reach a bowl game as quick as possible. That's definitely the goal. The faster you do that, the better bowl game you're going to be able to get. So, you know, that's our goal this week, is to go 1-0. It doesn't change our mindset on anything, but you definitely want to get to a bowl game and bowl eligible as fast as possible.
And this is the Bulldogs' last chance to be bowl eligible. And in the Lebby era for Mississippi State, he has been at MSU since 2024. Before this, he was the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma. He spent 2 seasons in Oxford as Ole Miss offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. So Lebby is no stranger in the SEC. And Ole Miss and Mississippi State have had quite opposite seasons, but it's time for the annual Egg Bowl for this in-state rivalry game. We will take a quick break and be right back with some insider analysis of the Egg Bowl. Tyler Kalmes joins us next.
Welcome to the Egg Bowl special. We are now joined by our friend and my fellow New Jersey native who has made his way to Mississippi for the big Mississippi game. Ole Miss insider reporting for our CBS affiliate 247 Sports, Tyler Kalmes. Tyler, happy Thanksgiving. We are thankful for you. You've been with us for Sports Zone Saturdays all season long. Ole Miss will be thankful for a win if it gets it today. What do the Rebels have to do to finally finish the season the way that they want to and set themselves up to host a college football playoff game next week?
It's cliche, but they got to block out all the national and all the noise surrounding the team. They have a lot of work to do in some areas defensively as well on the field. But going into the game, I think that's a big thing. And again, it's really cliche, but it's just reached a point, kind of a boiling point almost, where there are a lot of questions in the facility. But again, on the field, I'll take a look defensively. They really got to shut down explosive plays in the secondary. Happens way too much. It feels like it's guaranteed 1 to 2 plays every week where the secondary is either misaligned or just blown coverage, and bad news for that defense giving up explosive plays. So limiting the explosive plays is going to be huge. Their run defense is we've talked about it all year for those that have watched the Saturday Sports Zone. It still has been a area of weakness for Ole Miss, and from what I see, it seems like Mississippi State has a trio of runners that features Fluff Bothwell, Davon Booth, and Kamario Taylor, who brings an interesting dynamic into this one. I'm interested to see what the Bulldogs do at quarterback. And offensively, Ole Miss has to take care of the football and kind of unleash Kewan Lacey. He's been the key to Ole Miss, one of the big keys to Ole Miss's successful, unexpected 10-1 start.
Yeah, a win today would make it the Rebels' first 11-win regular season ever. Lacey, a huge part of that, setting a new program record with his 17th rushing touchdown of the season last week. He's already up to 19. That's more than Quinshon Judkins had in 2022 when he won the Connerly Trophy.
And Tyler, why has Lacey had the success he's had this year, and how will that ground game come into play against the Mississippi State defense?
Yeah, first of all, I think they match up really well against, really favorably against from what I've seen, a struggling Mississippi State team that, defending the run, I should say. Ahmad Hardy, a Mississippi native, kind of went off against them last week and didn't have nearly as many touches. But I'd say for Lacey in particular, what's really working well for him is his unique combination of strength and elusiveness. I've never really seen anything like it. I'm not going to mince words here. I think he's going to be an all-time running back for Ole Miss, maybe in the SEC. It looks like he'll probably only have one more year. It's hard to imagine. He's got 19 touchdowns and 1,100 yards going into the final regular season game as a 19-year-old. Does remind me a lot of a freshman Quinshon Judkins that ran for 1,500 yards and 16 touchdowns. But he's shattered the touchdown record. He's the single-season rushing touchdown leader in program history, as well as all-purpose touchdowns. So offensive line play has gotten better, but honestly, he's also bailed them out a couple times and sometimes making something out of nothing. And I think that he's got a really unique skill set where maybe the only weakness was the breakaway speed. But then again, you got to think about the energy he's using, juking defenders and running through players. And still, over the last few weeks, actually, he's kind of put those doubts to rest a little bit with long touchdown runs. I'd say, yeah, he's one of the more special backs, matches up well, and I think he's ready to put a bow on what's been a really special regular season for him and catapult that into good postseason performance play.
Yeah, this is a case where both teams are playing for something today. Ole Miss for the college football playoff bid. Mississippi State wants to get that elusive sixth win, and become bowl eligible in its final game of the season. How is this game more than just what about happens on the field in between the lines in the 60 minutes of play this morning?
Yeah, this one's interesting. I think maybe another cliche here, but you got to throw the records out the window. Sure, Ole Miss has double the wins Mississippi State does, but honestly, other than a couple blowouts against Missouri, Texas A&M, and Georgia, I feel like the Bulldogs have had a really encouraging kind of season under year two in Levy, losing a lot of tight games, winning some unexpected games. And as you said, they're looking to become bowl eligible for the first time since 2022. Coincidentally, the last time they also beat Ole Miss in the Egg Bowl. And this time, they're going to get the home field advantage. Again, Mississippi State is a real home atmosphere. And then you throw in the cowbells, and this is a team, again, these are 60 new players for Ole Miss. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that environment. It's already a rivalry game, and then you add in, all the other factors, and I haven't even mentioned them potentially ruining Ole Miss's season, what the aftermath could mean for Lane Kiffin. You never know. Things seem to change day to day, and after a loss, that would not leave Rebel fans feeling good. But fortunately for Ole Miss, the atmosphere they saw at Oklahoma and Georgia, two teams that are surging for a spot in the meaningful postseason play themselves, they handled that atmosphere well. But this is, I think, going to be a little bit of a different animal.
Yeah, it always is something that you never know what to expect. And again, some of those surprises are just less than an hour away. Thank you so much, Tyler. You can follow his work at Tyler Comis on Twitter, X. Next up, from Mississippi State, insider Robbie Falk is going to speak with Camden to preview the game from the Bulldogs' perspective. Go grab some leftover turkey and come back to your couch in 2 minutes.
And welcome back to the Egg Bowl special. I spoke with On3 sports reporter Robbie Falk about Mississippi State's season and their last shot at becoming bowl eligible.
just doing everything that you can here to go win one more game. And that's kind of been the mindset for the last 2 weeks, too. They had a chance against Georgia and Missouri to get bowl eligible. They weren't able to do it. Now you got one more shot. And that's been the goal for this team all year, is to go out there and win 6 ball games and get into a bowl game this year. It's a chance to show marked improvement from a 2-win season last year, win 4 more games than you did a year ago, which would be a big deal, and then go to the bowl game and have several weeks of practice to develop some younger players, to get more time on the field together in the system with Jeff Lebby, things like that. This bowl game is potentially huge for Mississippi State, and that's why this Egg Bowl is so massive for them. First of all, to get the Egg Bowl trophy back for the first time in a while, and also just to get that 6th win and get to a bowl game, which hadn't been done the last couple of years, and that's the goal. So it's about focusing and everybody doing their job to try to get one more win.
And I think Mississippi State hasn't won the Egg Bowl since 2022, and so it's definitely been a while, but they want to get it back. They want to have that history on their side. You know, it's in Starkville this year. What do you think about fans showing out? I know Mississippi State hasn't had the season they exactly wanted, but they have had, an SEC win, so things have changed.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans are dejected going into the game because of the last 2 weeks. And you look at the SEC schedule, and there's been chances to win more games against Tennessee and Texas and Florida, and State just missed the boat there. But I do think that there will be a decent crowd of Mississippi State fans. I think, a lot of people are going to be behind the team to try to will them into that win. This is a top 10 Ole Miss team. It's a playoff team that they're going up against. And anytime they're playing this Egg Bowl at home, State fans usually show up, and it's usually a pretty good crowd. I am very interested to see what it looks like on Black Friday, because I imagine there will be a good bit of Ole Miss fans in the stands for that. But, it should still be a pretty good atmosphere and a good day of football.
And a big thank you to Robbie for sharing his expertise with me. But we will take a break and be right back with a breakdown of the college football playoff outlook.
Welcome back to the Egg Bowl special. We've talked a lot about how this game means so much for both teams, specifically Ole Miss, who is looking to secure a spot in the college football playoff and most likely, if they win, host a playoff game, college football playoff, for the first time ever. And as we take a look at the rankings, well, Ole Miss is ranked number 6th in the college football playoff rankings, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily the 6th seed. In this case, they are matched up with Miami in the first round.
The SEC continues to dominate, and that's something that's really exciting, but that means, it's going to be some tough matches as Ole Miss looks to continue their season, and, right now it's going to be the best of the best.
Well, the big thing is that they've basically played the SEC schedule already because they literally have to. So you never know how a team is different in the postseason than when it was in the preseason. But for Ole Miss, who only has 1 loss on the year, which was just only 1 quarter of play, didn't go their way against Georgia for that 1 loss. So if Ole Miss keeps playing the way it's been playing all year, the playoffs, though a different atmosphere, could be really great for the Rebels, especially if they're at home. They will dictate what that environment is like. Coming up after the break, we're going to take a look at Jackson State, also heading to the playoffs, but it's the SWAC championship game. We'll hear from the Tigers next. Welcome to the Egg Bowl special once again. I hope you're all excited for the game this morning and are having an excellent Thanksgiving overall. One team that is having a great week and excellent week overall and season overall is Jackson State football. The Tigers are SWAC East champions for the 4th time in 5 years, which means that JSU is headed back to the SWAC championship. This past Saturday, Jackson State hosted Alcorn State in the Soul Bowl, the annual rivalry to end the year. And it was a good one. The defending HBCU national champions against Alcorn State. The two teams from Mississippi, by the way, have combined to appear in 12 of the last 14 conference title games. Jared Lockhart has played a huge role for JSU this year. The freshman coming in as quarterback in place of an injured Jacobian Morgan, the SWAC preseason offensive player of the year. Also, Travis Terrell Jr., who you also saw scoring, has played a huge role in his sophomore season after being named SWAC freshman of the year last year. Jackson State actually fumbled the ball while trying to take a knee and run out the clock with about a minute left in the game. Alcorn State got the ball, down just 6 points with a chance to go down the field and score and walk it off. But the JSU defense stopped it anyway. The Tigers win 27-21 and take home the trophy.
Huge. I don't know if these guys know how big that was tonight. This one I always be remembered. You know, this is one that'll never be forgotten. I know for me, I won't. But when you talk about the greats that played in it, Steve McNair and, you know, all the great athletes that played in it. But I tell these guys every day, y'all are playing towards something really great. And tonight you saw that with this football team to persevere through a moment like that. But, you know, one of the greatest Soul Bowls I ever been a part of as a player and a coach.
I just told them, guys, dominate from the get-go. I know we're going to make some mistakes, but it's how we bounce back from the mistakes and how well we can execute the play Coach Quinn gives us.
So JSU is set to host the SWAC championship next Saturday. Here are the SWAC East standings. We can now see just how huge that 38-34 win over Alabama State was in October. Yet again, it's the game that decided the SWAC East, just like last year when there was a tackle in the end zone that ultimately put the game away. Jackson State's defense coming through. Same thing when the ball was on the goal line the last minute of the game against Alabama State at home. Because this year, it actually comes down to a tiebreaker. Jackson State did not go undefeated. That lost to Grambling State in Las Vegas in the NFL Stadium, which is the first time that they had Jack Lockhart and also the Parker Stofa backup quarterbacks in for Morgan, trying to figure things out and some special teams issues. But they overcame it. It's all past them now. You just win every game going forward with one guaranteed and possibly two left if they make it back to the Celebration Bowl to defend their title. By the way, Mississippi Valley is at the bottom of these standings at 0-7 this year. Meanwhile, Prairie View is going to be Jackson State's SWAC championship opponent, winning the West last week. A reminder that Alcorn State's 4 SWAC losses that you see were all by 6 points or fewer and by a combined 16 points. So less than 1 touchdown difference each game ultimately for the Braves' season made the difference. Southern is at the bottom of these West standings at 0-7, and former Alcorn head coach Fred McNair has taken over as interim head coach. If you enjoy hearing about Jackson State football and following the SWAC highlights, updates, and analysis, you should watch our new podcast, Jackson's State. Beat reporter Wilton Jackson joins us in studio to go in-depth on JSU news, and you can watch by downloading the WJTV Plus app on Apple TV, Fire TV, and Roku. Some of that big news this past week includes the announcement of the Connerly Trophy nominees. Here they are on your screen. 3 will be named finalists before the winner is then announced. And this year, it's even bigger news that the Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame has added 2 new awards. One will honor the SWAC Best Player, and the other, the Best Player from Division II or Division III. The Hall of Fame says those winners from this list will be the ones who are in contention for that title, and one of them will win each of those awards from what you're looking at right here, these nominees. And they say that they can also still win the Connerly Trophy itself.
As we celebrate our 30th anniversary, it did feel like the perfect time to broaden the scope of our recognition. We often hear from the Mississippi media, from the schools, that it's such a hard time to have our SWAC people recognized and to have our Division II and Division III players recognized. But there's truly excellence happening on every level of Mississippi football. And so we really wanted to shine a spotlight on that and really focus and feature on those SWAC Impact Award and the excellence in our Division II and Division III teams.
The SWAC Award and the Division II-III Award, the Hull Award for the linemen, and of course the Connerly Trophy itself will all be presented at the Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame on December 2nd. We will be there with coverage from the event. Coming up after a short break, we have a friend of the station and Ole Miss insider Brad Logan, who will be breaking down his perspective for both sides of the ball and also the keys to the Egg Bowl. He's been covering it since the 90s. He's a guy you're going to want to hear from. We always enjoy having him on as a friend of our show and an extremely intelligent expert. Kickoff is nearing. Are you checking your watch? I'm getting hungry for some more turkey leftovers and then some football. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Egg Bowl special. We're now joined by our friend Brad Logan. He's the namesake of the Logan Media Network, one of the smartest college football reporters that you can know, and we have the pleasure of having him here today to discuss the Egg Bowl. He's covered a lot of them. Brad, happy Thanksgiving. A lot on the line for both teams today. How would you describe what Ole Miss and Mississippi State are each playing for this morning?
Well, what I love about this, David, thanks for having me on, is I've been to every Egg Bowl dating back to 1990. Now, the Egg Bowl game was played, I believe, in 73 to 90 in Jackson. And then from 91 forward, it's been on campus. The first game was in Mississippi State. I think they won the game 23-9 or something like that. But the first game on campus was a big deal. That was when Coach Jackie Sherrill and Mississippi State made a very big deal out of it. Then we come to campus for the first time in Oxford in 1992. And many people remember it snowed that day. It was very cold. And Ole Miss would win a nail biter 17-10, knocking down when Mississippi State, I think, had roughly 14, 15 plays inside the red zone. So that was an incredible game. This game's very special in the state of Mississippi. Everyone watching understands the significance of this game. And in many instances, I can tell you where on paper Mississippi State was a better team, but Ole Miss won. And then on the flip side, I could tell you that Ole Miss was a better team on paper, but Mississippi State won. So it's gone both ways. And what I love about this rivalry is you never know whenever you kick the ball off what's going to happen. This year, obviously the Rebels, a pretty heavy favorite. Obviously we'll see next week when the line comes out, but pretty heavy favorite. And I think Ole Miss has a better roster. But once again, Mississippi State's playing really well. I could make an argument that the Mississippi State has an 8-win team.
Hi, Brad. Ole Miss has got the chance to make the college football playoff. Who do the Rebels need to look to take control of this game, and how can they do it so Mississippi State doesn't make this the game to show it really is better than the record they might make us think so?
The key with this game to me, David, is Ole Miss has everything at its fingertips. And should it win the game, it would finish the season 11-1 and a lock for the college football playoff. The danger zone for Ole Miss is that when the college football playoff came out, Ole Miss was behind Texas Tech, which means during a bye week, they may theoretically lose a couple of spots. And then if you fall to Mississippi State, you have the opportunity to possibly fall all the way down to 10 or 11. And depending what the other games around the country are, where are you going to land on that spectrum of the college football playoff chart? So the Rebels really need to win and not leave it up to other people to make a decision. The good news, if you do win the Egg Bowl, you'll host a college football playoff game the first time in program history.
Brad, you said you've covered this game for decades. Why is it such a special football game in college football to you?
What's special about this game is where it falls on the calendar. It's after Thanksgiving. In many years, David, it was on Thanksgiving night. It was the premier game on Thanksgiving night. And at some point, people remember this game being the number one game on Thanksgiving night with Mike Tirico at play-by-play along with Kirk Herbstreit, and we all remember Lee Corso. And so many great games over the years. It's so special to so many Mississippians, David, because so many that we celebrated with are no longer with us. And each time the Egg Bowl rolls around, you remember going to the game with your dad. You remember going to the game with, in some instances, your son. And in some instances, those dads are not here anymore. Maybe your uncle or a friend that you're able to go with. So we reflect on all of those wins and losses. But at the end of the day, we reflect as family because we're all Mississippians. And I had a great conversation with a Mississippi State media person not long ago. And we talked about the importance not only of this game, but the importance of this game as a Mississippian. So it always puts a smile on my face. I think, sure, Ole Miss fans want to win and State fans want to win. But at the end of the day, we all celebrated Christmas, proud Mississippians, with one team smiling a little bit bigger than the other because they've got the Egg Bowl trophy for 365 days.
Thanks, Brad. After the break, we preview tonight's high school football North and South State Championship matchups. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Egg Bowl special. Ole Miss and Mississippi State are kicking off within the hour, but this is not our only big game today, Camden.
Across the state, we have high school football North and South State Championships tonight. Those are the state semifinals for our schools in the MHS AA.
One of the major stories this week was Brandon football, a team that seems done Former head coach Sam Williams left before the season. New head coach Lance Pogue resigned during the season. But since then, interim head coach Eugene Clinton has led the Bulldogs to wins in 4 of the last 5 games, including this major win at district champion Oak Grove in overtime last week. Brandon plays at Gulfport tonight.
And Hattiesburg went undefeated until the state championship last year. Now with the new head coach Kendall Lacey, the Tigers are district champions and headed to the South State Championship, hosting Picayune tonight.
Ridgeland won a high-scoring game over Neshoba Central. Warren Central quarterback Nash Morgan threw and caught touchdowns last week to send the Vikings to the semifinals in back-to-back years. The Titans play at the 11 Brothers tonight.
And Brookhaven made the South State Championship last year for the first time since 2010. Now the Panthers are back again. Laurel comes to Old Brook at 7.
Also, Holmes County plays at West Point. These teams match up in the playoffs for the 4th year in a row. It's the Jaguars' first time ever making the North State Championship.
And if I were another team, I'd be afraid to play Columbia. The Wildcats remain undefeated, 13-0 in the first year, with Chip Bilderback returning as head coach. One more win would tie their winningest season ever with 2023, the last time Bilderback was the Columbia's head coach.
And Kosciuszko plays in the 4A North half. In 3A, Seminary plays at Raleigh. In 2A, another matchup of local teams. Heidelberg hosts Mize.
And in 1A, Taylorsville plays in South State Championship for the 7th time in the last 9 years at Simmons tonight.
We also have big games coming up tomorrow. After the break, Camden and I discuss the college games to watch out for after the Egg Bowl. Next. Welcome back to the Egg Bowl special. Our big game today is obviously the Egg Bowl, Mississippi State and Ole Miss, but there are plenty of other big games with consequences this rivalry weekend. And here's a look at some of them happening today after the Egg Bowl. We've got some at 2:30, 6:30, and then as we take a look to tomorrow on Saturday for the Sun Belt East, Troy and Southern Miss, the Sun Belt East title and a ticket to the conference championship are on the line tomorrow. Whoever wins advances because Southern Miss has lost the past 2 games and Troy lost 1 of them, so it made them even in the standings, and this is going to determine the tiebreaker. Head coach Charles Huff says it's the playoffs already, but don't worry, he won with Marshall last year the whole thing, so he's familiar with the playoffs. He says the Golden Eagles are going to soar and then hopefully prevent going to be falling out of the nest.
I like that right there. Yeah, no, Charles Huff, he just said that, right now, I know we lost these 2 games, but we have a lot of momentum moving forward, and we're going to have championship football in Hattiesburg, and that's exciting.
Clear their heads. This is the playoffs, and Coach Huff, of course, familiar with that from winning it all with Marshall last year in the Sun Belt. Up next, we'll have our final thoughts and predictions between Mississippi State and Ole Miss. Welcome back to the Egg Bowl special. What are your final thoughts and predictions about this game, Camden? Because I can predict one thing. It's going to be crazy.
No, it's absolutely going to be crazy. There's going to be a lot of back and forth between Mississippi State, Ole Miss. We've seen it happen for Mississippi State, getting into the fight, getting into the cowbells, the excitement, and they're going to give everything they have to make sure that they can come out on top or at least get really close to beating Ole Miss.
I think that for me, the question is, how is Mississippi State going to play all 4 quarters? Yeah. This is a team that I think could wind up putting up a fight enough that even if Ole Miss wins, that they're not looked at as the highest seed they could possibly be. Mississippi State, they just weren't able to hold on at the end against a ranked Texas, a ranked Tennessee, and of course against Florida at the end. Ultimately, I do think that Ole Miss is just going to overpower. I think they have too many options. Lane Kiffin can drop too many plays. My prediction for the game is Ole Miss winning 35-24, comfortably, but still a good game, a good Egg Bowl. And hold on a second, I want to show you this. The question is, who are you going to root for? Are you going to root for Ole Miss,
okay,
or are you going to root for Mississippi State? So I'll be able to kind of wear both, and then whoever wins, you can, say that happens. So, because we're all one
rooting
family, as Brad said. So, anyway, thank you so much for watching this Egg Bowl special. Maybe I should keep these both on as I'm going to go watch it. We'll have highlights tonight of the Egg Bowl and post-game interviews. And then, of course, at 10 p.m., Friday Night Rewind, the final one, North and South State Championships. Big games all day. Thank you for being big fans, and a happy Thanksgiving to you. Until later tonight, stay friendly and stay tuned.